Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the URC. This one, the Dragons hosting the Sharks in the second match of round two. But these two sides sitting in very different positions on the table at the moment. The Sharks, they are sitting in the 14th. In fact, they're very similar when you look at it that way. But I do feel from what we saw in those first games, different opposition, and someone's going to get a massive boost at the end of this game. The Sharks, they did lose to the Glasgow Warriors, whereas for the Dragons in round number one, they were defeated by Ulster, 42 points to 21. It looks like a rainy day for this match. Of course, it is not at the Principality Stadium, but it looks quite nice. So I decided to have it as the background, but it is going to be wet. It's going to be tough to hang on to that ball, and that is where whoever has the better handling will be the side who have the more success. Heading into this matchup, looking through at the starting lineups for the Dragons, a few familiar faces across the side of the front row. It will be Wyn Jones on one side of the Scrums with Hunt on the other. We've just seen that game between the Stormers and the Ospreys, and Scrums were crucial. So I do think that this game with the wet conditions could be the exact same. In the loose forward trio will be Woodman alongside Aaron Wainwright and Lewis Hughes. Sorting in as that number 7, Rodri Williams, again the veteran, as that number 9 with De Beer as the 10, and then Finney Anisi. Big opportunity for him, the Tongan international. He is out on the left wing for this game. Fatuli Paia also in this back line, so a couple Tongans making their way into this into this Dragon side, and then the speedster Rio Dyer, he is out on the other wing. But looking through at the Dragons, for the Sharks in this match, Matan Zema in the front row, alongside Fezambata, and also Raya slotting in as the number 3 in that loose forward trio. I'm thoroughly looking forward to seeing these three men in action. Vincent Tshituka scoring a try last week and perhaps can do it again in these rainy conditions. Jaden Hendrickse starts as the 9 this game rather than the 10 that he was last week. We do see John Smith taking on that 10 jersey now. Lucanio and also Jarenzo Julius. That is such a dangerous duo for a midfield. And then Christy Robala. So Bali moves out to the right, and Edward van der Merwe slots in as the number 15. They are just talking about the rain and also the fact that it is heavy wind too. It is not an easy day for a game of rugby, but both of these sides will be trying their absolute hardest to play entertaining rugby throughout the 80 minutes. Looking through at the comments we have got there, I'm guessing Edinburgh called off due to the storm. Says Malcolm, by the sounds of it, yeah, that earlier game that was supposed to take place doesn't seem like it's going to be happening, or at least not happening in the near future for today. Perhaps they will have a rescheduled game at some point. But yeah, a little bit of a rough one there weather-wise at the moment for that contest. We have got there, I hope the lost bonus point I don't come back to bite the Stormers. And also we have got there Hamish, who taught you how to be selfless and neutral. Says cool story. I mean, that's a deep question, isn't it? I would say who taught me to be neutral was probably myself, just because I enjoyed watching the game from the middle point rather than looking at one side and being biased towards it. And from there, just kind of caught on for every live stream that we called the game straight down the middle. Durban Sharks and the Sale Sharks playing at the same time. Says Big Rig there. They use any grip stuff like they do in the NFL. Going to need it tonight. They do normally have a little bit of that gel that they rub onto the hands. And Sharks could do well with the rain in Newport. Yeah, see, that's the thing. These rainy conditions, you would think would negatively impact these two sides, but maybe it just brings that little bit of extra focus in terms of how they are playing. You know, sometimes we see the matches involving the heaviest of rain actually have the least handling errors. Now, also, sometimes you see 30 handling errors throughout a game with a bit of rain. So hopefully we get that first one. I kind of like watching games as a neutral. You don't have the bias dragging you down and just get into the contest, says Big Rig. And that also, like when there's a comeback for the underdog as well, when you are going for that team that's in the lead, I feel like that slowly makes you dislike the match, if that makes sense. Whereas if you're watching it from a neutral perspective and the comeback is happening, it can be a pretty awesome thing to watch. But currently this rain is sideways as the sides make their way out onto the field. Edward van der Merwe playing in that number 15 jersey. Had a Sharks debut last week, managed to score himself a try. I thought it was your judo coach, but that's good enough. I don't have a judo coach that I knew of. Unless you're talking about, I watched Step Brothers a few times, and they did a bit of martial arts, didn't they? Dragons a good team. Can't really remember how they performed last season, says Xander. They're a good team on certain days. They're the type of team that can either beat you by a little bit or get slaughtered, I think is the best way of describing it. And I don't know whether or not Dragons supporters would enjoy that analogy. But looking through at their last 5 games last season, we'll go like this. So round 18 of the competition, they lost to the Bulls 55-15. The round before that, they lost to the Stormers 48-12. The game before that, they lost 57-24. And then they had a close game with the Scarlets, losing by 8. They lost by 33 up against the Dragons. Maybe I was giving the side a bit too much credit, saying that they can have the occasional close game, as they were getting beaten by Zebre. They lost to Glasgow. They lost to Munster. They did get a win last year, didn't they, the Dragons? They had 1 win. Who was that 1 win against? I can't even remember. It wasn't Cardiff, because they lost to them too. They lost to Cardiff twice in a row, in fact, I think that was. They must have won early on in the comp, because I'm still going through. I'm up to round 4 and they haven't got a win yet. They lost to the Lions, but now Kickoff in this game. We'll find that out soon. Oh, and it's too much on it. Massive kick too far. And they'll go back. Also, your team starts acting like Pratt says a big rig. And I, Hamish, looking forward to your commentary for the Rugby Championship. Hectic sleep schedule for the New Zealand guys. Yeah, it's going to be an all-nighter, but it's going to be so exciting to see what happens in that final round. Okay, Dragons won their opening contest of last year's URC, 23-21. I've managed to find that result. So it's been a while since a win, but they've had a lot of close games along the way. Quite a few bonus points. And they beat the Ospreys, says John. Dragons have been the worst region for a while, says Mr. Fantastic. Dragons are more chameleon rugby team. Sharks really cannot lose against them, says Eric. And imagine being the only team they beat. Jeez, there's a lot of rain at the moment. They're just showing it. It is raining fully sideways. It is bucketing down. Chance of a smooth running game will be pretty unlikely here. I do love the Dragons kit, though. Probably the most out of any side in the URC, only because I do love the colour yellow. But now that's a big push there, Sharks. Oh, no, too much movement. Both front rows standing up, so the referee said we'll have another reset. Okay, the Sharks, says Ina. And Dragons. Oh, no, I read that one. No, I do. My flat is holding on. It's been horrible weather all day. Says Mr. Fantastic AJ. Yeah, and it looks like the wind is pretty strong too, which is playing a bit of a factor. Go the Sharks, says Marion. And the Sharks 36 to the 17 of the Dragons, says Lilia B is the prediction. So I'm with a relatively high scoring game in the rain today. Hopefully it does take place. That's the thing. If we can get one of these two sides with a bonus point for scoring 4 or more tries, I'd be quite happy. Because there's also the chance that it's just really low scoring. Took a picture of the Shark Stadium here. It won't be too easy to see on my avatar, I guess. There you go. That is the stadium. I cannot read it though, but I'm sure someone could. Now look, Kanyo little kick going in behind. It's close to the sideline. The Dragons doing well to keep the ball alive. Hopefully Arm and Julius create some havoc. So much skill between them. Yeah, and it's kind of like that young player with the veteran, isn't it? In that pairing. And I think that Lucanio will be able to teach Julius a lot. And Storm Amy, there's a travel warning across all of the UK. Says Big Rig. I wonder if we will get the famous wink cramp today. I think it's only for the important playoff games that we'll see that one coming out. Rodri Williams getting down towards the sideline. Finianisi chasing after. That is a good kick from Williams. Some decent distance on it. We have got nice. Says Lilia in there too. Finianisi, he was chasing after that one. Always knew it was going close to the sideline though. He didn't look like he put in those full hard yards to try and cut it off. Fizumbata ready to throw this one. And we could just see the moisture on the camera as well. I predicted Sharks by 10. Is that good? That could be all right. In this case, I honestly, it would probably be about par. These two sides are considered pretty even heading into this game, but looking at that past record, you would have to say that, you know, the Dragons will struggle. Big run here, though, in the middle of the field. Nice bit of work from the Tongan Finianisi. Now ball charged down. Having a run back, it is another Tongan. Fatuli Pai 5 metres out from the line. They are slipping and sliding all over the place. Counter ruck from the Sharks here. Ball on their side. Taking around for it now. Vincent Tshituka tries the triple step. And eventually dragged down. Now shifting it away. Pepsi Buthelezi just a couple metres short of the try line now. Jaden Hendrickse pick and go. Looking round for Vincent Tshituka here as well. He's normally quite dangerous this close to a try line. Also, I believe is captain again for this contest. I see his Polo, welcome in. Congratulations, Storm. It says WP there too. And Sharks going to be swimming in this match. Yeah, it is pretty damp out there at the moment. And also we have got their Sharks. Oh no, I read that one. Oh, closer to the try line again. This is going to be the pick and go from Vincent Tshituka. Dragged down just short of the try line. Ball is available again now for the Sharks. It does look like Fizimbata is going to have a crack at going over the try line too. The Sharks just trying to get themselves back up to their feet. Pepsi Buthelezi thought about reaching out, won't quite get there again. Just short of the line. Vincent Tshituka, he will leave it for the backs. Lucanio arm, shoveling it on. Cross kick, it's gone in behind. Mistake made. Oh, tell you what, he almost get that one in the field of play, but a mistake by the Sharks on attack. It was a golden opportunity to score it, but just couldn't quite get it into the hands of Christy Robillard. Just the pass would have done rather than the cross kick. I also think maybe going with those forwards a couple more times. Whether they spin it out wide when the pick and go was working, that is just the point I was about to make. I was saying, or halfway through saying, I felt like it wasn't going badly. You know, they were making a metre or two each time that they had a carry, and perhaps they should have just persisted with it for that little bit longer. Now, ball coming back there into the pocket. Go the Sharks, says WP. We've got there the Southland versus North Harbour game was the worst game I've ever seen. Knock on after knock on. I didn't even finish that match. I got to about, I think it was 10 points to 14, and I kind of halfway gave up on that game, mainly because the cricket was on as well, so I did switch over to it, or at least the coverage of the cricket started. The game itself didn't quite start at that time. Big difference between a Springbok game, a Currie Cup game. Says Lilia B. And the game was louder from here than being in the stadium for a Currie Cup match. Says good story. Now this one's going to be thrown in, nicely taken by Fizimbata, or Fizimbata throwing it to Vincent Tshituka, I should say. I think when you're only a metre out from the line, you chuck that man the ball and he will score a majority of the time. He was dragged down just short. A couple more phases and he would have gone over. You know, the rugby is bad when the cricket is more exciting. The cricket had a rain delay as well, so it wasn't even happening. That's saying something. Now another advantage. Vincent Tshituka tackled there by his opposite number, Aaron Wainwright, or at least he was trying to drag him down. Good steal in the breakdown. And we'll go back for the side entry. I'm a Stormers fan, but would like all the South African sides to win. And yeah, it's like, to be honest, 3 or 4 of them this weekend do have a pretty good shot. The Bulls up against Leinster, they will feel confident. Sharks in this game, it is a 50-50, and in those cases, you feel like they'll probably have a decent crack of getting close. The Lions, they're the tricky one at the moment for me. Their match up against Zebre, it's hard to know where Zebre will actually be at. We're now ready for the line out. Just showing the Dragons head coach there, Fizimbata. Ready to get this one in. It's nicely taken by the Sharks again, and Mbata joining up with the back. This one's moving nicely. And in fact, it's moving very well. I have no idea who's got the ball. I think Fizimbata's dragged down just 1 metre short of the try line. Now Jaden Hendrickse. Looks like they are going to look at this pick and go option, or at least maybe a pop pass up to the right-hand side here. Popping it. No, goes himself. He is over the line and scores the try. It's looking like Marvin Orie popping up with the possession. And the try score for the Sharks. And Dragons 23 points to 18. Pick and go. It's going to work in these conditions. The slipperiness. It's going to make it very hard to be able to stop yourself from just having a couple little defensive errors. Can you please tell me, did the Lions win their first game? So here's WP. So their first match was up against Cardiff, and they ended up losing that game by about 12 or so, I believe it is. This is the table. Sorry, 13 they ended up losing that game by. So not quite the start to the URC that they were after. So the Sharks and the Lions, they both lost, whereas the Bulls and the Stormers, they both won their round one contest. But Marvin Orie scoring the try there. How you doing, MECA as a Pads? Are doing very well. Hopefully you are doing well too. Any sleep? Couple hours was about all I managed, but I'll hopefully be getting more a little bit later on. Oh, the hook and kick, but it has gone through the post and 9 minutes into the game. It is sitting now 7 points to nil. Okay, thank you, says WP. And Lions, Dragons, and the Sharks. Rugby really does have some false advertising, don't it? And also, let's go, says Lilia. And there as well. Marvin Orie, not a man who many would have been predicting to score the first try of this contest. But it's worked. And now, it's kicked out on the full by the Dragons. That's now 2 kickoffs that they have got wrong. One was too long. The other's gone out on the full. They need to sort that out here for Tshituka. And watching in Wales, and I'm behind the stream. WTF, says Mr. Fantastic AJ. And are we in the same boat? Says Pedza. 10 minutes into the contest. They're going to need a boat for this one by the full-time whistle if it keeps on raining the way that it is. Sharks round the halfway line with the scrum. And started Hamish is back. Says Ruth there too. Of course, 2 games of the URC that we are covering today. Then tomorrow, or in fact today, in New Zealand, we have got New Zealand versus Australia in the Rugby Championship. South Africa versus Argentina also taking place. And then after that, we are going to be covering Leinster in their game up against the Bulls. And how many hours until All Blacks versus Wallabies? Still another about 14 and a half hours till that match takes place. Good start for the Sharks, says Malcolm. Yep, very good start. Getting the early advantage from the Dragons, kicking it dead, and then just staying inside of that Dragons half. Scrum reset again. There will be a few of those throughout this match just due to the severity of slipperiness under the foot. Matanzima saying that there wasn't a nice push there. And versus this one, it is Robert Hunt, 2 South Africans going up against each other. Evening, Padza, all good in Cape Town, says Ruth. Already the 11 minutes down, 7-0, and Sharks, they will be chasing this bonus point, seeing as they did lose to the Glasgow Warriors last week. I put 1,000 on the Sharks to win, says Tyrone. Is that 1,000 rand, or is that 1,000 something else? And good to hear, says Badza. Now Hendrickse feeding this ball in again for the Sharks. That is a big push, and it's an effective one. They will get themselves the penalty advantage, Rand. So I think that's $100 New Zealand. So that is a hefty bet on the Shark side. So you are feeling confident now. Ball on the outside going to Christy Robela, running out of space. Good quick hands from Lorenzo Julius, but it will go into touch. And they will go back for that original penalty advantage. My Bads are doing great, and you? 1,000 tons of gold. Says Big Rig. So that is going to go against Win Jones when it comes to that scrum. And what do the All Blacks need to do to win the Rugby Championship? At this stage, a bonus point win would be massive for them. But pretty much it all comes down to either winning the game up against Australia by more of a differential than South Africa lose by. So South Africa would have to lose to get to the not winning the Rugby Championship stage. But pretty much New Zealand would need a bonus point win and increase their points differential by about 80. So it's going to take a lot, and the only way for them to really win would be if Argentina were to beat South Africa at Twickenham. And so the Sharkies have a whopper of a game, says Rube. Other than the fact I could be more tired than Hamish, I'm all good. Says Beds Ablaze, now nicely taken by the Dragons on the 22, managing to take this one back, and Christy Robela has to make the tackle. The Sharks, that is now 2 mistakes that they've had when they've been on attack. I think we will see that pick and go coming back in the near future. That one hanging in the breeze, but well taken by now Smith. Over there, let's hope the Sharkies, I read that one, didn't I? And let's hope they can keep going. Says the Lilia B. Now Marvin Orie, the lone try scorer in this match, 13 minutes in. We see there Jaden Hendricks digging around for the ball, rolling it back. Making sure that the referee keeps all the Dragons onside. Chasing after this one, it will be the right winger, Sobale. Can't quite get to it, and it's well taken by Tshituka. Rodri Williams calling his shots, calling for a few more on the short side. We'll just look to set up this kick, or at least get it to someone who can kick it. Rodri Williams gets that penalty in the breakdown to offside against the Sharks. I hope that is not thunder that we can hear through the microphones. This could end up being one of those delayed games, ladies and gents, if there is lightning around. I'm hoping that's just the wind, but that could be thunder. I might have found Hammy Stash to wake him up. Says Bedza. I might have to find Hammy Stash to wake him up, maybe, is what that sentence is. That is an interesting one, though. Now another line-out throw. Already we see the blood coming from the nose of Ruandrea. Nicely taken by the Dragons. Now popping it back off to the right-hand side. Chance here, tennis to be a flat ball to Fatuli Paya. Dangerous run. He's been at the Highlanders, been at the Crusaders. It's been a Tasman Mako, and now he's almost ended up losing the ball for the Sharks. For the Dragons. In this scenario, Pepsi put the lazy, making the low tackle there. Dragons now moving up to the 22. Massive gap for Wainwright. And he runs it through and scores the try for the Dragons. They just found a gap. Maybe a bit easier than anticipated there. But the Sharks lose. Never liked them, says Bruce. And Storm Amy says Big Rig there. Nice to see these Welsh teams giving it a go against South African teams. Good lessons for them in positive. Great score by the Dragons. Line angle run by Wainwright. Splits the defence here. Really nicely cut inwards there for the Wainwright run. And we see it there. They were just drifting across. And then Wainwright straightening and just showing off the pace to get around Sabali. No thunder near me. Okay, so it might just be the wind coming through the microphones, which hopefully is the case, because as we know, if there's any sort of lightning or anything involved, they do normally have to go off the field and wait for 30 minutes, which is not what we want. But that one has gone over, and that makes the score now 7-all between these two sides after the 16 minutes. And yes, says Mr. Fantastic there. Yeah, Wainwright just showing off his speed to get around Subali. And that's the thing. When you have got that front foot momentum, it's very hard for the opposition to change the angle. Be able to cut you off. We have got there the Sharks was circling, allowing the Dragons to fly through the gap. Says Bedza. And here says Mr. Fantastic AJ. And ouch. Says Lily B. That one's going to be kicked off. High chasing after this one. So Barley nicely taken by Wainwright, though, inside of his own 22. Now I've been told to use it. Rodri Williams again, just setting up his angle. Something that he has done very often for the Dragons all throughout his career. Wainwright is such a good player on form. Absolutely. He's always one of those guys that when Wales are playing and he's playing well, you always see him. Oh, that one hasn't found touch for Rodri Williams. Now attacking chance here for the Sharks around the halfway line from John Smith. Hands down in front of the ball for the Dragons. They can't really contest for this one. Jaden Hendrickse. Back across bar, scored a try against our Sharks. Score sits 14-6 after 26 minutes. So here's Big Rig. Now back into the pocket here. Or at least shoveling it back for the Sharks. That almost looked like they were going to go for a kick here. And in fact, they're rolling it back. This is going to be a box kick from Jaden Hendrickse. They're only sitting about 45 metres out. The ball was not out. Quick tap taken by Hendrickse. And Wainwright giving away the penalty. Pepsi Puta lazy with a nice step moving up to 22 metres out. But on the ball for the Dragons. Penalty goes the way of the Sharks. This is a kickable 3. But there's something about the way that the Sharks are playing in this game with the wind as well that makes me think maybe they'll look to be aggressive here. I'd love to see them do it anyway. And that is what they're going to do. Kicking for the corner. Winners sounded pretty mad all day. And this is... Well, the thing is, this would be normally an easy 3 if there wasn't... Oh, no, Vincent Tshituka called for the post. I think everyone but the skipper wanted to go for the corner there. And going to be an exciting one, 30 points to 27 to the Sharks. And if that was the score, that would mean that these 3 points that they're looking to take here would be the difference. But not an easy day for John Smith off the kicking tee. But if the easy points are available, you kind of have to take them. So I can understand why they did it. Also, the last entry into the 22, I think they did make a mistake there, the Sharks. So it does make sense. But it looks like the rain is now falling straight down rather than sideways. So for just this little patch, the wind's not too much of a factor. Never been to any other stadium beside the Sharks Stadium. But I sat on a tortoise on an island when I was 6 years old. There you go. There's quite the difference, isn't it? But that kick has gone over from the Sharks. And that is going to make the score now 10 points to 7. I'm here playing Black Ops 6-2. Says Padza. This one's going to be kicked off high. Charging after this one. Nicely taken by Vincent Tshituka. And now, looks like the box kick is going to come in again, this time from Jaden Hendrickse. I don't think we're going to see the Dragons doing anything too silly in the breakdown now. They will not want to give away those penalties. Nicely taken under the high ball. But Dennis De Beer, but he is shut down by Christy Grobela. Man who, not 100% sure whether or not he's going to be back in the 7 setup. I hope that he is, though, because he is always a dangerous option in that blitz box kit. Rolling this one back. Rodri Williams already a quarter of the way through this contest. Imagine you get to the pearly gates of heaven, but then the skipper points to the posts. Says big wriggle, big knock on from Edwell Fun to move. A bit of a rear error from that man. Kicked him behind. And it rolls into touch. A nice little skidding kick from the Dragons. Nice territory gainer. Like I said, he was under a lot of pressure at the time, but still manages to slightly get that one right. Rodri Williams looking very damp at the moment, as many of the players are. The cameras are looking damp too. You see all the speckles of where the rain has landed on them. And I don't think the weather's supposed to get any better for this match. What colour fishnets is your auntie wearing tonight, says Ruth? That's a question and a half, isn't it? But Emmanuel Tshituka now heading it up outside of the 22 for the Sharks. And Williams so Welsh, says Ruth. I only been to the Millennium Stadium, but I got to stand where the pitch was at my dad's firm. Or as my dad's firm was adding support holes for that infamous stereophonic gig back in the day, says Mr. Fantastic AJ, and forecast as the storm is going to get worse. Yeah, see, some of the games tomorrow I think are probably going to get, I don't know whether they'll get postponed. Anyone cancel the Xbox subscription? I haven't actually read into that. I've heard that there's a lot of drama around it. They're trying to charge more. But when do they actually start charging more, and which games are involved? Like, for instance, Paddy's saying he's playing Black Ops. Is Black Ops going to be a game like the fancy, more expensive one? Or is it still a part of the regular one? Now Jaden Hendrickse kicking in behind here. Big steep bounce of the ball. Knock on there from the Sharks, and it's going to be claimed again by the Welsh side, the Dragons, down towards the halfway line. That's a cheap shot there. Could have pulled out for Angus O'Brien. There's going to be a charge down. Hendrickse cleans it up again. Little step there from Jorenzo Julius. Are they already charging more? So does that mean I've been charged? But I haven't even looked at my Xbox in the last little while. That ball's going to be dropped. And also we have good there. I'm glad New Zealand, Australia is only at 11:45 a.m. here. I don't enjoy waking up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday. Our consoles new gen cost more now than new. Or console next gen, is it? Says Mr. Fantastic. That's a Welsh national anthem, I believe, that's being sung around the stands at the moment. So the crowd is still in good spirit. If you got Ultimate, it's increased by nearly 50%. Yeah, I might have to look at what my Xbox subscription is. I haven't even looked at it in like probably 2 months. A great minds think alike, says Cool Story. I'm playing a 1998 PS1 game right now. New doesn't always mean better, says Big Rig. Now another scrum here, 23 minutes through the contest. We will see a lot of scrums, like I said. I'm getting ready to put this ball in now. The scrum is engaged. Big push there from the Sharks. In fact, huge shove coming from the Sharks side. Ball is available. I've eaten about 18 eggs today, fried in butter. So I got an empty egg box now. Well, the good news is you'll be able to refill it. Unless, of course, you just buy your eggs, then in which case you'll be able to buy a new one. But egg cartons can be useful for something, I'm sure. You make a little mini car. I think that's what we did at primary school. Now Edward van der Merwe is going to kick this one into touch. Doesn't get the distance that he would have liked, but it goes onto the roof of the stadium. Should be 2 royal battles tomorrow. Pumas and the Aussies coming to the Gladiator game, says Ruth. Yeah, off the outside of the boot of Edward van der Merwe. Still probably got it about 30 metres out from the Sharks line, but the Dragons with another line out here, thrown in by Coughlin. Now going up, soundproofing. So you just stick an ear card into the wall there. Now look, Kanyuamo, he's kind of tackled on the ground there. But it looks like it is going to be play on. In fact, the Dragons are going to get in a good position for this breakdown and try and work into the penalty. For now, Ultimate is now, or for now, for you, Ultimate is now $45. Yes, see, that's quite a bit, isn't it? Because we play a little bit of GTA, me and a few of the other Kiwi lads. So do we need Ultimate to be able to play that? Or is it like a game that's not through Ultimate? Bodybuilders eat raw eggs. See Xander. 25 minutes through, and it will be another line out for the Dragons. I've started to take the territory in this game quite a bit. Buy a PC, the pass is cheaper. So here's Mr. Fantastic AJ. It probably is in the long run, to be fair. Like, I've got a gaming laptop, but none of the others have got, like, that sort of thing. Now ready for this line out here. The Dragons still down by the 3 points. Nicely taken again, going off to the left. Rodri Williams now finding Fatuli Paya. Cuts through the middle, bounces out, passes on the outside. What a try for the Dragons. And that is very nicely done. Go the Dragons. And while you were talking Xbox, Dragons scored. They just scored for myself. As we were still waiting for that line out to take place. But a brilliant run from Fatuli Paya to be able to bust his way through. He's already had more of an impact this year than Dragons could have ever hoped for. I get the cheapest because GTA isn't a game locked to Game Pass. Says Inferno. That's true. Big bump off there for Tuli Pai, getting rid of the opposition. He actually could have scored that himself, and that last pass could have been the brutal one. But yeah, he could have scored it himself for Tuli Pai, but gives it off to his teammate O'Brien instead. Now sitting 14 minutes left in the half, and the Dragons have now taken the lead in this match. And not so much RAM, more graphics. There's Mr. Fantastic. That kick has gone over, so the Dragons now lead 14 points to 10 in this contest. They'll be more than happy with the way that I've started. Definitely because the 2 times that the Sharks have been on hot attack were both from the kickoff eras of the Dragons. Jeez, you can see the collision and the bump off of Fatuli Pai. You can see the sweat as well as the rain get pretty much slapped off him. And minimum says Inferno. I thought you were on the OMAD diet. Says Lily, a little kick in behind. Nice grubber. Forward again for the Sharks. Lorenzo Julius chasing after it. Now only the 5 metres out from the line here for the Dragons. Bit of a counter ruck from the Sharks. Ball doesn't come out. Rodri Williams protecting it for his side. When is Labour weekend here in New Zealand? It must be soon, is it? I don't know why, but for some reason watching these two sides play in the rain reminded me that the Bookerama's coming up. That's how that overtired brain works, I guess. My sister likes books. I haven't read one since school. 27 and a half minutes now. Passing through this match. It is going to be a line-out. Raw eggs are very bad for you. The white must be cooked to neutralise the poisons. Yolk can be raw though. That's okay. Says Bruce. So which part has the salmonella? Is it just the white that has the salmonella, or is it actually both parts can have it? Win should favour the Dragons. Second half, says Mr. Fantastic. Now, ready to throw it in Fezambata. This line out taking a little bit more time. Which kit would you rather wear? Can't back Dragons. Are they not repping red? I actually really like the yellow kit though. So like I'd wear the yellow kit 100%. In fact, if I was ever going to buy a URC kit, I would actually buy this Dragons one. Just because it looks so lovely. Oh, that ball's stuck in there, so the Dragons will have themselves the scrum feed now, just not able to get it out of that line-out situation for the Sharks. And not every day I mad, I vary it. Are you doing the Munster match tomorrow? Who are Munster playing tomorrow? Connor. I have a quick look, although the chance is that we might have something else on at the same time if I haven't got it initially scheduled. Hang on, we'll go round 2. Munster play Cardiff at 7:45. It isn't one that I was thinking of covering. Mainly because by that stage we would have done the 2 big internationals, and I also have to try and, I am going to be squeezing in that Leinster Bulls game, but we are going to be doing Zebre versus Lions the day after. We have got, there you go, the Dragon, says Johan. Yeah, currently 29 minutes through, another big scrum. Penalty goes the way of the Dragons, just an early push from the Sharks. In fact, no, it's for the flattening out of Ruandrea and Matanzima. I actually did know PS4 had 16 times more RAM than PS3. I did not know that. There are other poisons in the white, not salmonella. Ones other than that, says Bruce. I think that's why they have to have certain eggs if you have it raw, isn't it? Like, you got to make sure that they are, I think it's pasteurized. That seems to help out a little bit, but yeah, I don't think I'll ever be one to be able to gulp down a raw egg. Just, texture-wise wouldn't be that fun. The rain is still pouring. It's actually a little bit lighter, it looks like, than it was earlier on in the game, but it's still bucketing down. Kick high from Tennis de Beer around the halfway line. Awkward bouncing one, and it goes into touch. And what fun to move. He's hardly had a touch of the ball as of yet, just that one knock on that I can think of. Why do the Sharks have a square on their butt? Says Mr. Fantastic. We were talking about it last match in terms of, there was a side in, I think it was the NPC or Super Rugby that had the circle around the bottom region. Now, ready to throw this one in. It is Fezambata. Another try for Bath. I don't athletes do that, drink raw eggs? They do, yeah. Some do, anyway. Not all. Looking for the steal on the breakdown. Lukanu arm can't quite get it. And now in the hands of the Dragons again with the run forward from Matthew Screech. Now Rodri Williams off to the right-hand side. Another step from Aaron Wainwright. Ball pops out again. It's been recycled very nicely. Finny Anisi tackled early by Lorenzo Julius. And Coughlin. Back off to the left-hand side here again. Japanese eggs you can eat raw, says Mr. Fantastic. Well, then I say athletes, I mean dudes who are trying to bulk up. Says Big Rig. That one's going to be grubbed. And a little knock on there from the Dragons. Sharks now have to scrum 40 metres out from their own try line. Ball possession with the Dragons here, says Ruth. It could come down to who drops the ball less in this matchup. It's been a bit scrappy, but that kick in behind attempted by Fatuli Paya, just not quite going into the hands that he was after. And how are the Dragons actually playing? They're going all right at the moment in this game. Like, I would say they've been better than anticipated. Definitely off the way that they played last year, but they had a lot of close games that they just couldn't quite close out last year. And Flesh and S4C YouTube channel have it live. Says Mr. Fantastic AJ. Don't forget Chinese century eggs. Yeah, that's another one that I probably wouldn't be able to eat. Just a texture thing. Another scrum reset here. Both sides getting a little bit disgruntled when it comes to those scrums, and a bit maybe impatient too. The referee won't be too far away from giving a few penalties away. It does continue. They're several months old. Says Big Rig. Sulfur isn't my thing. Says Mr. Fantastic AJ. Now, rain is still pouring. I was a bit optimistic when I said it wasn't raining as heavy before. It is still absolutely bucketing down. And a free kick going the way of the Sharks. So it seems like at this stage we're going to start seeing free kicks against both of these sides. He famously couldn't eat eggs. I found them revolting. Said they made him think of blood. Says Big Rig. I mean, I can eat eggs if they're cooked. But, I can't eat, I just wouldn't be able to get down a raw egg. I think it would come straight back up. And then there's definitely no chance of eating it after that. Now, Rodri Williams back into the pocket. This one's going to be kicked high again by the Dragons, chasing after this one. And Christy Robala Oh, penalty goes the way of the Sharks for a man being in front of the kicker. This is the first real attacking opportunity the Sharks have had since getting their 3 points about maybe 10 to 15 minutes ago. Yeah, thanks. I just tuned in. I just dropped my grandson home. And Dragons seem to like the rain. Welsh Dragons breathe water, says Mr. AJ. And scrambled eggs on toast with beans is a classic English comfort food, says Big Rig. Penalties conceded so far. We have seen 6 against the Dragons compared to the 2 up against the Sharks. The first 35 minutes of this game. It has been, the ironic thing is, this has been a wet game, yet it's higher scoring than the dry games, or at least some of them that we have seen throughout this URC competition. There's been some sensational tries already throughout this match. Now looping around, chance here for Vincent Tshituka. In fact, this time it's Lukanyoam hitting the ball up, sitting 15 metres from the try line. And the Sharks find a way over. And the picking goes, 15 metres out. Jaden Hendrickse 4 more penalties. Yet winning by 4 points. Says Big Rig and Sharks coach are going to be kicking the walls, and Viva Sharks. And there as well from Aviel. Our penalty advantage in favour of the Sharks here again. Christy Robela just sitting the 5 metres from the try line. This is a big chance for the Sharks. They drop the ball. And this is where they have a decision to make. Do you go? I would go scrum here, to be honest. 10 metres out from the try line. You could take the 3, but I actually really like their chances of winning a scrum and bulldozing over here. Either that or the corner. I don't think I want to see a 3-pointer. We're about to find out they are kicking for the corner here, the Sharks. Not an easy kick when you are dealing with that breeze, but he has got it out 5 or so metres out from the try line. And now we get to see that rolling maul in action again here for this dangerous Sharks side. They just said there the last win for the Dragons was actually last year. And the Sharks are terrible. They should be cruising. They've been all over the Dragons, says Haino. Yeah, it does seem like those Tongan players for the Dragons really made that impact. Fatuli Pai in particular has looked immense throughout this game. But yeah, the Sharks have had some struggles when getting down into this part of the field. Now they have got a good chance of getting something going. Looks like it is going to be the line out straight to Marvin Orie. The rolling maul starting to move here. Fezambata was waiting for it at the back, breaking off the short side and dragged down just the 5 metres short of the try line. Not too sure who actually ended up with that ball underneath all of the massive players. All the Dragons told to retreat again here. Now sitting just the 5 metres out from the line. Another pick and go for the Sharks. Now getting closer. 2 metres short of the try line. Ball pops out the back for Fezambata. Told to release. This is where last time the Sharks decided to try and shift it rather than just using those forwards. Looks like again, is it going to be Emmanuel Tshituka? Yes, it is. Gets close. 1 metre short once more for the Sharks side. Being told to stay back there. The Dragons, the last thing that they want is to get themselves offside. That was pretty close to being in the offside position. Can go again. Vincent Tshituka is doing a huge amount of work here in terms of joining up with those guys. And the breakdown, he's over the line here. Vincent Tshituka scoring the try for the Sharks. That is now 2 tries in 2 weeks for that man. And he has been on fire throughout this competition. And I mentioned about him earlier on, how when you're a couple metres out from the line, you throw him over the try line. We're going to see it here, just picking it up and going down over the line. And the thing is, he's been working hard to skip it because he's been right next to many players and pushing them, trying to get them over the try line. But he is the man that reaps the rewards now. And it's a big one there for the Sharks. Sharks, Vincent says Lilia B. And Viva Sharks. And there, let's go. So everyone going for the Sharks there. The Sharks are terrible, says Haino from earlier on. But now he said, let's go for that try. And that one's gone over. 17 points to 14 now in favour of the Sharks team. The Sharks needed that. Absolutely they did. And now that they've got that try just before the halftime break, it puts them in a pretty, I'd say, pretty good position, but it could be better. One more try here or a three-pointer or something before the halftime break would help them out just that little bit more, but currently sitting with 90 seconds remaining on the clock, and it is kicked off. Oh, the Sharks leave it, and it goes dead from the Dragons again. Tshituka, he is confused because that is now his third time that he has made a mistake like that in this game. Not ideal for him at the moment. Jaden Hendrickson, even running back to halfway, he's kind of squinting because of all the rain hitting him in the face. But it is going to be the scrum now for the Sharks. Both sides told to hold their weight here. Scrums have been a bit of a lottery already throughout this game. Now the Sharks, they are sitting on the 2 tries as well as the Dragons. 2 more would give either of these sides a bonus point here. And of course, both of them can actually still get that bonus point. They do score the 2 in the second half, but it's been a pretty high scoring game for the conditions considered. Hopefully the second half to see more of that running rugby. Another penalty goes the way of the Sharks here. And now you get into that situation whether or not there is a potential of going for a rolling maul here for the Sharks. Now, they will be quite far out from the line, so that might be a bit optimistic, probably about 22 metres, though he's going to try and use that wind. That's just that, getting it inside of the 22. And Viva Sharks. And also, we have got green tights. That reminds me of someone. And also come on the Sharks, 2 more, says Raymond. Yeah, would help them get back in the right direction for this URC season with a bonus point win here over the Dragons. Although, of course, just getting the win, that is the vital part here. I've just said there that the time is after the 40 minutes. Thanks, Amish. We'll catch the match highlights only if we win. See, it's goal story. Bit of a loose ball there picked up by the Dragons. Oh, the call was a knock on. So it is going to be halftime now between these two sides. 17 points to 14. The good news is they're at least down the right end of the field to be able to run into the tunnel after this matchup. But the first from Aaron Wainwright. We also saw the try, Vincent Tshituka and Marvin Orie. And then also the other try was scored by Angus O'Brien for the Dragons in this contest. So 2 tries apiece with plenty more of this match to come. It's pretty hard to split them at the moment in this game, I will be honest. And yeah, it's a tricky one because you would think with the way that it sits, the Sharks, I don't know if they'll be confident. I was just looking at the score. I feel like there's still plenty that can happen in this game that could change the momentum. Is a great game of rugby, especially with the weather. Absolutely. These two sides have played much better than they probably expected to in these type of conditions. And you'll be watching the highlights later. Says Lilia B. And as well, yeah, players are doing well with the rain. Yeah, like I said, it's actually been a higher scoring game than some of the dry matches that we've seen recently. So that is saying something. Yes, we've had the few handling errors, but honestly, even the dry matches, you do have to deal with those as well. Looking through at the benches for these two sides, they are going to be as follows. Hang on. There we go. So off the bench for the Dragons, they have got Douglas there, Coleman, Martinez, and Burrows. And then also Ackerman in that number 22 jersey. I wouldn't be surprised if they make a change early in that number 10 jersey. Tshituka having 3 mistakes off kickoff. And all of them have given the Sharks just brilliant opportunities to try and create some sort of attack. Off the bench for the Sharks, they've got Edouard Swart. Also the big man, Klakane, in their number 19 jersey. Francois Finte and also Konini there as the number 22. Hatton also could bring a bit of an impact off of the bench in the second half. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see exactly how it ends up going. 1 second, we'll go like that. There we go. Looking through at what is to come for these two sides as well while we are at it. For the Dragons, their next game is on the road. They will be up against the Glasgow Warriors. That's going to be a tough game, as it always is, up against Glasgow. But that game taking place next weekend at 5:30 a.m. New Zealand time. Then they have got Cardiff as well as the Ospreys. So 2 Welsh derbies in a row for the Dragons. And that will close out their October period. For the Sharks, they have got some tough games around the corner. They have got Leinster in their next matchup that has taken place as a home game for the Leinster men. Then from there, they've got Ulster that is actually back on Sharks soil. And that will be intriguing because Ulster looking like a pretty decent side in their first matchup that they did play up against the Dragons. I'll have to wait and see how that match does get on. Then also Sharks versus the Scarlets, that game taking place in around 21 days' time as well. But we have seen the 4 try scorers throughout this game so far for the Sharks. There has been Marvin Orie and also Vincent Tshituka managing to score. So definitely a forward-orientated performance here. Whereas for the Dragons, we've seen Aaron Wainwright in that number 8 jersey score. And then also the try for Angus O'Brien, although a lot of credit for that one does need to go the way of Fatuli Pai. He could have scored it himself, but unselfishly for his new side, passing it off, maybe trying to get on everyone's good side. We have got their new URC fan here. What's the difference between the Dragons and the Sharks players at the moment? So here's bread pudding. So at the moment, I would say the Sharks have used their forwards just a little bit better when they're inside of the 22. The Dragons have probably looked like the side who are more likely to score off a counter-attack, though, or some sort of line break. But the Dragons not having the best season last year, only getting the 1 win. Sharks going into this game were actually 50-50 in terms of the chance of being able to win it. So it could be a close second half. And hopefully get to see more of the same of what we saw throughout the first. Just that really good attack and run from Wainwright, though they are showing on the replay again. Wigan 14, Lee 6 at halftime if anyone likes the UK Super League. So here's Jonathan. And also we have got the, okay, that's probably promised in chess. Says cool story. And there as well. And to be fair to Dennis De Beer, even though he's made 3 mistakes off kickoff, 2 of which kicking it dead and 1 going out on the full, still had that very nice pass to Aaron Wainwright off of the kicking tee as well for the Dragons. He is sitting at 100%. So that is at least a step in the right direction, you'd have to say, for the Dragons 10. It's just trying to limit those mistakes. And we've also got to remember the Dragons will be playing, I believe, against the wind a little bit in this second half, or at least the wind shouldn't impact them as much as it did throughout the half. They're just showing there that run from Fatuli Pai. He easily could have scored it himself. And if he had gone for that pass on the outside and that ball had been dropped, the Dragons would have been kicking themselves big time. Yeah, just bumping off Christy Robillard in the challenge. And most of the time here at the moment, it is Sobale who's trying to get back and cover defensively. And by that stage, we are already seeing the damage done for the Dragons on attack. But do let me know your end score predictions for this game, ladies and gents. Currently sitting 17 points to 14 at the halftime break. Still plenty of rugby to be played. It will be fast-paced and entertaining between these sides. Yeah, of course, do let me know who you think will be winning. I think that the Dragons, if they can get it right for the first 10 minutes of this half, they may not be a mile off. Although I do think also that the Sharks, for me, are the side that if they can use their forwards better, like they did throughout that first half, and just take those chances when they kick the ball towards the sideline, they should be able to close it out with maybe a narrow victory. Go New Zealand, says Johan. I'd also like to see both of these sides, though, get themselves a bonus point. I should mention, I think that both deserve it for the way that they are playing in these rainy, windy conditions. 27-24, favour to the Dragons. Says Bread Pudding. Yeah, they do normally have a lot of close games, the Dragons. Like, in their losing efforts, they are right in it. And, this game could be one of those ones that they will either get that win by less than 7 or lose by less than 7, the way that it's been back and forth. In fact, whoever loses this game could get 2 points on the URC standings, and the winner could get 5. Which Sharks box player I do think would have been needed, beneficial in this game? See, it's a tricky one, because if Apalele Fasi wasn't injured, you could say him, but then Edwald van der Merwe, he has hardly touched the ball, but I think his defence in this game hasn't quite been as strong as he would have liked it to be. Having someone like an Etzebeth could have been handy, although I think that Slubbert's gone all right in that 4 jersey, but more so for just that leadership side of things. I think that Vincent Tshituka has done a decent job leading from the front, scoring himself the try, but having like an Etzebeth would have been massive. They are already winning the scrum penalties, so you could argue they didn't need Ox and Share for this game. So, yeah, I guess maybe just you go Etzebeth, Kolisi, Pepsi Butalezi's been going all right at 6, though. Trying to think through all the backs and who would actually be Maybe actually, I've decided Makazole Mapimpi. Mainly because the Springboks just aren't playing him, so he might as well be playing out there on the wing for this side. He defensively would be pretty solid and also can really do nicely. We see the post there just well and truly breezing around. Easthuizen is also a very good shout, although that would mean you're losing Lucanio Arm, was the only reason I didn't go in his direction. Unless you were willing to drop Lorenzo Julius and move Lucanio to the 13 jersey. But I do still think for Lucanio's defense, you'd keep him in there, but maybe as an impact player off the bench. For Andre Easthuizen, the Dragons don't look too impressed with the ref. At scrum time there on the replays, says Fletcher, well, they have been a bit 50-50 in terms of those scrum penalties that we've seen so far. A lot of slipperiness out there on the field as well, which does make it difficult for the players. And, of course, they would love to stay on their feet, but just not really happening. Wild weather, Northern Hemisphere autumn. Says Ref, well, hopefully it does all pass by the November internationals, or else we could have some very interesting games. Definitely with the fact that the World Cup draw happening on December 3rd. So a lot of big jumpers, I would assume, in terms of teams moving up and down. Someone like a Scotland will need to have a very strong November. That might even boost them somewhere towards that top 6 if they are successful there. Argentina and Australia both jockeying for those positions too. Trying to get every little extra half point they can moving forward. The Rugby Championship, of course, taking place today. It's currently 13 hours or so away, or in fact closer to the 14 hours away from the kickoff of that contest between New Zealand and Australia. We are going to be covering it on the channel, so anyone who is new, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also covering South Africa versus Argentina when that one does come around, and then Leinster versus the Bulls. That game also going to be covered on the channel, so we're looking at about 8 hours of the commentary tomorrow. The most tricky thing tomorrow that I will be doing, though, I think, is trying to pick a team of the tournament in the Rugby Championship. I'm so indecisive, and, you know, I've got maybe 1 or 2 players down for my 15 players of the comp. So it's going to be tricky. There's going to be a lot of looking at stats, a lot of trying to think of who has had standout games, but it's also very tricky because for South Africa, the likes of a Sasha Feinberg Ngumezulu, right? He hasn't actually played that many minutes throughout this Rugby Championship. He went off early up against New Zealand with a head knock. He had that outstanding game last week up against Argentina. So I'm hoping he has a really big game here so that you can justify picking him as a 10, or else you probably have to go with someone like a Thomas Albanos as that fly half being the best of the competition based off purely the fact that he's played more minutes. So I think it's a hard one. I'm not looking forward to it, but we will try our best to pick the best team. Those posts are getting even more breezy than they were just before, but we see the Sharks as well as the Dragons. They have both made their way back out onto the field. Have to wait to see how the second half does end up going. There are quite a few guys who are expected to be able to score throughout this matchup. Edwill Fundermerva being one, but we have hardly seen him at this point of the match. So I think at the moment, you're actually more likely to probably see a forward get themselves a try in this matchup. But we will, of course, have to wait and see. And like I mentioned, some decent options off the bench, the likes of a Nick Hatton, a Klakane. We're interested to see who actually makes their way off of the field for these two sides. On S4C, I have broadcast will resume soon, says Mr. Fantastic. Well, it should only be about a minute or so away. We have got there, it's a storm called Amy. It's the lower end of Wales. It's going to be hitting Scotland hard tonight and tomorrow, says Fletcher. So, yeah, there might be a couple other games that do get affected by the storm by the looks of it. And, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see whether or not there are delays. There's a man with a purple umbrella that is really struggling with the breeze. The Dragons just getting a little bit of support from the man on the loudspeaker at the moment as the Sharks get ready to kick off the second half of the contest. Get us back underway for this match. And it will now be kickoff for John Smith. He has to make sure that he gets this one right, as that is something that the Dragons were unable to do throughout that first half consistently. Dennis De Beer making 3 mistakes off the reset. Yes, we'll see on YouTube is cool, but it means adverts are blank. YouTube show you something, says Mr. Fantastic AJ. Now this one's going to be kicked downfield, chasing after it, nicely taken by Sobali, who does knock it backwards onto his side and regathers. Collision between him and Matthew Screech. Now, back across to the right-hand side, Jaden Hendrickse goes to Fezambata. I think that the longer that the Sharks can leave their subs here, the absolute better they will be for it. Being able to use that freshness later on in the game. The Sharks playing with Razzle Dazzle are very plain. It's hard to play with Razzle Dazzle in these type of conditions. And I would say at the moment, they'll probably play with about as much Razzle Dazzle as you can in wet games like this. Little kick in behind from Lukanyo attempted. Ball going sideways. Picked up by, is that Rio Dyer? We haven't seen that man with the ball in hand throughout pretty much this whole matchup. And it's taken 41 minutes before we have said that man's name. Now around the halfway line for the Dragons. Big collision there for Marvin Orie and the Dragons forwards. Now rolling this one back. At the moment, they have got 72% chance of the Sharks winning this game on the predictor. Now kicked to behind. Awkward bouncing ball goes close to the sideline, but kept in the field of play. And now Edward van der Merwe. What can he do? He breaks through one challenge, almost gets through a second, offloads up to Vincent Tshituka, who is pumping his legs. I think I started watching this channel during the 2023 World Cup. Says Mr. Fantastic AJ, but that is going to be another penalty this time going the way of the Dragons. Going off their feet and the breakdown there, the Sharks. The only razzle dazzle is in the Dragons rugby jersey. Says Ruth. Yeah, this one, I don't think the Dragons will take a shot at the posts here, as it would be a very difficult kick from this position on the field, sitting about 49 metres out from the line. Just hope Sharks don't leave it too late like their last game, says Xander. Yeah, see, that one up against Glasgow, they just let it slip, didn't they, throughout that final quarter of the game. It's a nice kick into touch, though, from the Dragons. This will put them not too far out from the goal line. Now the Dragons, they will look to get this attack going. They have got Coughlin in the number 2 jersey. I don't think that change has been made yet. No, he is still out there on the field, Coughlin. They've just said there 4,000 in attendance for this game, or just over 4,000, which is a pretty decent turnout when the rain and wind are playing as much of a factor as they are now, getting driven towards the sideline here for the Dragons. 5 metres short of the line. Pick and go from Matthew Screech. Does spin out of one and is smashed in the tackle by Vincent Tshituka. Now Coughlin. Another carry there. Referee has to dodge that one to get out of the way. And back across to the right. Rodri Williams just trying to set up his forwards, and they may have taken a few pointers from what we saw from the Sharks in that first half of just using the forwards rather than going too risky with the backline. Although, to be fair, the broken play or the openness is what has led to the Dragons their last 2 tries. Rodri Williams, pick and go. Tries to spin out of the challenge of the Sharks, but again dragged down just the 2 metres short of the try line. Wainwright with the pick and go and popping it up to his right-hand side. Now another chance here for Matthew Screech. He spins, and he is just short of the try line. Again, going through the middle with that breakdown was Lukanyo. Now passed out wide, and that is nicely taken by Rio Dyer. It was the cutout pass. I think they will just check it to make sure that it isn't forward. But he pretty much, all he had to do there was dive onto that ball to be able to score it at 130 to 160 kilometre winds expected tomorrow in Scotland. Luckily, no games up there tomorrow, says Fleishan. Does that stadium have a roof that closes? This stadium does, but that is not where they are playing. They are playing in the open, and it is certainly wet out there. Right, they are just checking this to see whether or not it is a forward pass. Oh, no, they're actually checking for a knock-on here. Now, originally, Lukanyo, he might be actually in a little bit of trouble here because he did dive into that breakdown to force the knock-on. So whether or not they also look at that and maybe consider him as offside, we will soon know. It looks like at the moment they aren't too excited about it, the Dragons. And that's it, says the Mr. Fantastic AJ. The TMO for one of the first times in this match is going to get called into this matchup to make the decision of whether or not Rio Dyer's second touch of the day will lead to a try, or whether maybe they will end up going back. They are just still waiting. Looks like a bit of a team chat there from Shane Lewis Hughes. Oh, that was potentially a knock-on. Was it from a Sharks hand on the ground, though? We're going to see it now. No, it's a knock-on. I think that one has been lost by the Dragons, and this may be considered. Okay, Lucanio arm does get in there, but I don't know whether or not that directly forces the knock-on. Now, looking at it 50 times, this angle does show that there is. Yeah, it looks like a knock-on. I think this one's going to be no try for the Dragons. Or it kind of has to be. I don't think there's any way that can be ruled as backwards. Okay, they're just looking, once again, I mentioned about that Lucanio arm situation. It's going to be no try. Sale Sharks score a try, says Big Rig, so that must start a little bit of a comeback in that game for them. But Rio Dyer does not score it out wide. The knock-on coming from the number 1, Wyn Jones. Bath 21 to the 16 of Sale Sharks after 50 minutes. Guarantee it's disallowed. The Dragons get no luck, says Flesh. And yeah, just a knock-on there from Wyn Jones. It will be the 5-metre scrum now for the Sharks. So still not completely out of danger here, depending on what happens for the scrum, which have been a bit of a lottery with how slippery it is out there on the park. I wonder what Shane Lewis-Hughes was saying to his team there in the huddle. It looked like he was fired up, trying to get them well and truly back in this game. So potentially they already knew that it wasn't going to be a try. But now, Jaden Hendrickson to feed this ball into the scrum. Anybody's game, says Ruth. Absolutely, this one could still go either way. Well, big solid push initially from the Sharks, but then they do get the penalty. I was about to say there was a little bit of a fight back there from the Dragons scrum. It's going against Wyn Jones for wheeling it around. Now the Sharks, this will relieve that pressure and get them down the field that little bit further. The kick, I believe, will have the wind behind them here, so a little bit of extra distance on it too. Now will be the line out here for the Sharks after the kick goes into touch from John Smith. At the moment, these two sides, it's been very hard to separate them throughout the first 45 minutes. Whoever is the fresher later on may go on to win this game. Currently still 2 tries apiece, so still the chance of a bonus point for both teams. They were to score themselves the 2 more tries. Fezembata ready to throw it in. They have got Edouard Swart, who will make his way off the bench a little bit later on in this game. Another drop ball, this time going backwards for the Sharks. Pepsi Buthelezi taking the contact. And proud to be, super proud of the Stormers, says Briston. Oh, they are going back for the knock-on against the Dragons. So now scrum feed for the Sharks against Bryce, that penalty. Says Flesh in there. Okay, I think one of the players there, Matthew Screech, was saying, I never actually touched the ball with my hand. It was off my head. But referee did give it as a knock-on against the Dragons here. We're going to see the replay now. Well, to be fair, he did slap the arm there, one of the players, Ben Carter, but I don't know if he actually did touch that ball. I think there the Dragons are actually going up to the referee and saying, listen, you actually need to check that. And the ref says, we play. That was the exact quote, we play. They are going to have the scrum now. Ben Carter not happy about it. And Matthew Screech not too happy either. The 2 locks for the Dragons in an unhappy mood. 33 minutes now remaining in this contest. Still just the 3 points separating them on the board as well. Jaden Hendrickson, another chance. Feed this ball in. Do you think the Stormers can win all the tour games that's coming? What's your thoughts on the game today? So the Stormers, there's going to be a couple, I would say, slightly easier games for them on tour. Then later on, another penalty going against the Dragons at scrum time. They are looking frustrated as a 4-pack here. And a bit of push and shove between Ben Carter and Vincent Tshituka. Not really what you want to see from the skipper of a side. And evening, Hamish, says Tommy Tank. Welcome in. But yeah, the Stormers did very well in their game up against the Ospreys. Definitely because the Ospreys scored 40 points last week up against the Bulls. They look like this kind of side that could really have a bit of an impact. Sharks look good at scrums, just like the Stormers. And it's right next to my house, says Ibrahim, so hopefully you are staying safe with all the rain and the wind that is around. Right, captains are being called over now by the referee. Number 8 he wants, so that is going to be Aaron Wainwright. Right, and number 5, this referee doesn't even know who's on which team. He's calling over Aaron Wainwright because he thinks he's Vincent Tshituka, and he's calling over Marvin Orie because he thinks that he's Ben Carter. Unless, of course, something happened beforehand between them. But no, I think there was a bit of confusion there in terms of who was actually starting it. All right, let's go. The Sharks says rugby style. What time is the New Zealand-Australia game tomorrow? So for you guys in South Africa, it is going to be at, it will be 11:45 a.m. for you guys in South Africa. I should have gone to Specsavers, says Big Rig. And is it raining for the Springboks game? It's looking very much like it will be bucketing down for that match. Unfortunately, the ref has given us all at scrum time, says Fleshin. And the Stormers are strong in scrum time well, says Riston. And yeah, it has helped them drastically throughout this game in terms of just building that momentum and getting it moving forward. Now, Fezambata having a big conversation there with Martin Zemu about the line out. There's the throw. And I from Ireland go the Sharks Saints for the great channel. Hamish says, Craig, and it is greatly appreciated you tuning in. We are going to be covering the match between Leinster and the Bulls tomorrow, which should be an absolutely awesome one, plus the international rugby too. And it's the last internationals that we got before, I believe, Australia play Japan in the late stages of October. They've been told to use it again now. And kicking this one downfield, Rodri Williams. Where do I watch it? Says Ibrahim. It is on S4C if you are in Wales. Now, here comes the run from Edward van der Merwe. Passes on to the outside of Jean Smith. One more passed on Sabale. Just running out of space to work with. And his foot was in touch as well. And it's now going to bring the line out chance for the Dragons. Flag is raised by the touch judge. I hope Tavatavanawai gets good minutes at the end of year tour. I don't actually know if he's going to be back in time. Timothy Tavatavanawai, his injury initially was looking like 12 weeks, and I think he's only about maybe 4 or 5 weeks into it. Which will mean that more than likely we won't actually see that man for the November internationals, but hopefully we will get to see him in July next year, I believe. Be the next time that we do see the All Blacks in action. Dragons, looks like they are making 2 changes here. Wyn Jones, what part of the field? Are the Dragons closest, or is the Dragons closest scoring? They are currently not. They have got themselves a line out, sitting around 40 metres from their own try line. Do you think we will make much changes? As in, like, for November, I think we'll see a couple guys added in, but mainly due to injury. S4C YouTube channel says it's fantastic. Now, Edward van der Merwe runs straight at Fatuli Paya. Rolling this one back here. Jaden Hendrikse needs to come on in the 60th minute. Says rugby style. Yeah, an absolute tank of an individual and will be able to bring that real physicality later on in the game. Same with Nick Hatton. I feel like he's a little bit underrated in terms of what he's able to do when he makes his way on. Now, running this one. Oh, sideways. 2 players taking each other out. Oh, no. It looks like Fatuli Paya may have actually ended up with an injured knee from his teammate colliding with him. And Briston, they're the easiest of matches, so it will be a surprise if they don't win 3 from 3. Yeah, Fatuli Paya, this is such a shame here. It was a nasty collision with his teammate. Now, it actually reminds me of when he was playing in a Highlanders preseason game. Oh, yeah, nah, hits hard. And it looks like maybe either knee or arm there for Fatuli Paya. And a big shame for him. He has made his way off. This is bad. This is reminding me, like I said, the preseason game between the Highlanders and the Crusaders. He injured himself pre-match or pre-season. And it looks like he's holding his wrist here. This could be a massive hit for the Dragons now. And happening at the worst possible time. Second, we'll go like this. And like that as well. I think your game is a bit behind. because that fall already happened. As I'm watching, there's a line out. See, it's Briston there and Sharks by 10. It's looking like a good prediction. It certainly is looking relatively close to where we could see this. Definitely if they are able to score themselves a try in the very near future. Still plenty of time left in this match. Anyone's for the taking. It's whether or not the Dragons can find their rhythm. Liam Williams smashing his head into Bigger's butt. See, here's Mr. Fantastic AJ. Yeah, it's the friendly fire ones that hurt you and do annoy the coach big time, but currently the ball is in the hands of the Dragons and they will win themselves the penalty just inside of the Sharks half. I just wish Storm has got a fourth try, then we would have gotten the bonus point. Yeah, and the fact that they did just narrowly miss out, I'm sure would have been very frustrating for them because they almost, I would say, played well enough to get that bonus point from the game. Now ready to throw this one in very soon for the Dragons. It will be another line out for Brodie Coughlin. Rio Dyer. Very little touches of the ball throughout this match as the Stormers. See, here's Briston there. And yeah, Fatuli Pai currently still holding his wrist. This, if it's a broken wrist, which it looks like there might already be a little bit of swelling, he could be out for, I would say, a good 6 weeks, if not longer, for Fatuli Pai, which will be a massive shame for the Dragons as they just got him. Not straight throw there for the Dragons there too. And the Sharks now are going to have themselves another scrum where they have been so dangerous all throughout this match. It sounded like the captain's now getting called over. Nobody will win. This year, I'm confident Stormers are on top. So here's Briston. Yeah, that is definitely one that Dragons would have liked to avoid. 27 minutes now remaining and time is off again. So I believe there is going to be a couple more subs soon. And also the ref just telling the players to speed it along a little bit here. And maybe are taking a little bit longer than he would like. But at the end of the day, it is raining and quite a difficult game to be able to deal with, I'm sure. Still 2 tries apiece and still no change in the scoreline since the halftime break. That does not mean there won't be one soon. Marvin Orie just doing up the shoelaces. It doesn't matter who finishes top of the URC. All that matters is you make to the knockouts because that's when it counts. So here's Cameron Kay. Yeah, I don't think the Sharks, they'll be looking at nothing less than that top 8. Definitely after how they played last year. An artificial pitch, not the best to land on like that. Says Fleshin. Yeah, just got hit really hard, unfortunately, for Tulipaia. And I thought that it was initially his knee that was injured, but it was actually kind of the leg got swept out from underneath him. And then I think it was just the way that he landed on his wrist. So if New Zealand lose against the Aussies, South Africa will take the championship. That is correct. Although, it depends, because if Australia win by a big enough margin and then South Africa lose, then it would actually be Australia who win the Rugby Championship. The What's Up Guys podcast, they said, hey, welcome in, hope you're doing well. Big kicker behind here from the Sharks, pulls up 5 metres out from the Dragons line. Does get it into touch again. So Hamish, do you think we will see Ruben Love get the chance to play this weekend? He will be making his way off the bench for New Zealand. Now, there's no guarantee that he actually gets a lot of minutes. Unfortunately, that can happen. But I'd just like to see him get more than 15 minutes at the end of the game. So what's happened so far? It's been raining very heavily throughout this game. A lot of wind too, but so far we've seen 2 tries apiece from both of the sides. The Sharks using their forwards with Marvin Orie as well as Vincent Tshituka to be able to score the 2. And then for the Dragons, they've had a couple open field tries, one for Aaron Wainwright and one also for Angus O'Brien in the number 15 jersey. What is the points of the Aussies? So here's Briston. Yes, he currently Rugby Championship points tally-wise. The Aussies do not have a great points differential. I'll get that exact number at the moment. Currently, their points differential is 1, the way that it sits. So, they have to rely on getting a bonus point, and then they have to rely... Oh, referee just took a big shot from one of the Dragons players. That's obviously letting the frustration out from the scrums. Now, ball available there for Jaden Hendricks, a Kiwi man. If you had to visit 3 stadiums for the URC, what would it be? For me, Loftus, Kings Park, and Parkway Scarlets for some reason. Says Stormzy. See, I'll probably go Loftus as well. I feel like you got to go to the Aviva, don't you? And then also, I feel like another one of the South African, or actually Murrayfield, although they don't play much at Murrayfield, do they? They play the stadium next to Murrayfield. So I'll go probably with either Cape Town or Durban as the other one. And now, Edward van der Merwe running it straight. Two of the big forwards. Looks like one of them may have stayed down for the Dragons. They're told to get out of the breakdown. It looked pretty clean in terms of the chance of the steal. Razor's way too conservative since he began. He doesn't have the depth South Africa has at his disposal. He should have started building the squad already. He's relying on an aging Barrett. He's way past his prime, says Cameron Kay. Does look like maybe Wyn Jones might not be a mile away from making his way back out onto the field. That is due to a bit of a injury here for one of the forwards. And one of the Stormers just mauled that ball for 5 points, says Briston. Yeah, it was an interesting choice. And the knock-on was unfortunate afterwards. But, you know, that's the type of point that they may look back at it and really be frustrated about. Scarlett's was freezing. Says Mr. Fantastic AJ, he really does want Barrett to get to 150 caps. That's all it is, says Cameron Kay. Yeah, looks like Wyn Jones about to make his way back onto the field alongside a couple other replacements here. Trevor's definitely going to cock something bigger up here for the Dragons. 7-4 making their way off. And that is going to be Levi Douglas by the looks of it, as well as Harrison Kitty making his way on. Briston, your 8th man, did a bad knock on in the end. I could have passed out and scored in the corner. Did you enjoy the Djokovic match today? Says Lilia. We need a try from Ethan Hooker in the game against Argentina, says Rugby Style. Yeah, he is due for one. He's been looking very strong at the moment, Ethan Hooker. Definitely throughout those last 2 games where he's really built into his role as the left winger. Makes you wonder whether or not Makazole Mapimpi is still going to get game time for the Box, or whether maybe he gets the chance here for the Sharks in the near future. How many points does Australia have in the Rugby Championship at the moment? They are sitting on 11 points. New Zealand on 14, South Africa on 15, and then Argentina on the 9. So even if Australia got themselves the bonus point win, they would have to rely on South Africa not getting a single point from their loss up against Argentina, or if they were, of course, able to win that game, the Box, then it would just be done and dusted. Now, ball being fed in. Big push here from the fullback. Jaden Hendricks going back across to the right-hand side. Little Kanyo arm looping around here. Finds Edward van der Merwe. It's been shut down well at the moment from the Dragons' defence. Hendricks popping it up again to Emmanuel Tshituka. I would assume that they won't be a mile away from making their own changes here for the Sharks. I'm told to use it again. Jaden Hendricks kicking it up high. Chasing after this, it is Sobale. Oh, good hit into the ribcage of the Dragons player. Bit of a counter ruck, but can't get through. South Africa win tomorrow. No way they're losing at Twickenham. It's Twickenham. Says, it was there from Cameron. Now, Rodri William. I'm back across to the right-hand side. I saw you in the chat. It was a good one, says Lilia B. Now rolling it back again, Rodri Williams. Told to use it once more. It does create a nice angle to be able to kick that one towards the touchline. It actually bounces in the field of play, and Edward van der Merwe is ready to take it, going back with a kick of his own. Little bit of a slip there for the Dragons fullback, Angus O'Brien, but luckily for him, for Tulipai. In fact, this time it is Finia Nisi who has ended up with the ball. Australia only need to win by 5, says Briston there. Do they? I feel like with that points differential of +1 for the Australians, so they would have to win with a bonus point, which would also warrant them getting themselves 3 or more tries than New Zealand. What's the reason there's no Rugby Championship next year? It's because of South Africa and New Zealand deciding that they want to do a tour. So it's going to be great seeing those 2 sides go head-to-head, of course, but it does mean that we don't get a Rugby Championship. Doubt that Australia will win the next game. This is What's Up Guys podcast. URC definitely needs a league below with a relegation system, says Stormzy. Irish, what are your thoughts? You think that New Zealand Rugby is setting up Jamie Joseph to take over the coaching from Razor, since he took over New Zealand 15s? Oh, that's a bad sight there for Tulipai. He has got his arm in a sling and also looked like he had some sort of rod to try and hold it in place. It's a massive shame for him, definitely because this is just his first, or the early stages, I should say, of the Dragon season. But with the Jamie Joseph, like, he's mentioned that he wants to be All Blacks coach at some point. And the thing is, though, New Zealand, they're not going to make a change till after 2027 because they don't have the money. And why don't we get it? Says Briston. Why don't we get it? As in, like, Australia, why don't they get the Rugby Championship? Oh, that's going to be the penalty now. Or, sorry, yep, turns into a penalty. As it was the second time that we have seen it. So Scrum's heavily at the moment going the way of the Sharks. And this can just build them into this game more. They are leading by the 3, but that is not enough. As the Dragons, I feel, still have one more try in them. The Sharks, they need those extra points. Going to be about 22 metres out from the line with the line-out throw. Both front rows just standing up a little bit too early there. Why isn't there a Rugby Championship for 2026? It's not fair, says Briston. So yeah, it is because of the New Zealand and South Africa tour that they are going to be doing. And then I believe there's only a shortened Rugby Championship in 2027. So, you know, the Rugby Championship is actually in a bit of trouble in terms of, like, it's going to become a rarity that we even see it take place in its entirety now. Do you think the Rugby 365 League will be a success? Do you know who they signed, any players yet? I have no idea who they've signed. I also don't really know when it's starting up. I think it's supposed to be next year, isn't it? That it is going to be taking place. But I kind of hope it's a success. Just because it would put more pressure on World Rugby to try and, you know, even the 7 side of things. You know, like, I was hoping that the Indian 7s that was starting up was going to do well. The Indian, I think it was called the RPL, Rugby Premier League. I don't think it got a huge amount of traction, although it did do relatively well for itself as a Rugby Championship in 2027. I think it's only a shortened one. Maybe like one round up against each team. It'll be every 4 years like the World Cup, which is a shame because, you know, like, it should be every year. I think it's October 26th, the launch, says Cameron Kay. As well, the Aussies and Argentina do tours as well. I guess they'll have to. They'll have to find some sort of rugby to play. That is a massive scrum there from the Sharks, who get themselves the penalty at scrum time. And now they have a decision. 3 points or go for the corner and look for one more try here. I think you got to go for the corner. Oh, captain's getting called over again. This will be a warning for the amount of penalties that have gone against them at scrum time. Scrum penalties conceded 6 so far. It's every 2 years. The Rugby Championship, says Cameron Kay. Now the kick for the corner, John Smith. Let's get it into touch. Maybe a little bit further out from the line than he would have liked it to be. Perhaps this is also where we could see the Sharks make a couple changes. Although I do feel with the way that their forward pack is pushing, maybe they should hold off a little bit longer, see whether or not they can score that scrum or score that rolling maul try. Right, I heard there about number 7. That would have been, I think, Emmanuel Tshituka, but he is still out there on the field, so no change made just yet. Marvin Orie taking it nicely, and now the rolling maul setting up here for the Sharks. Sitting 10 metres from the try line. The Dragons trying their best to be able to defend it. It is wheeling around. It's still there, dragged down just short of the try line. And the Dragons locking over the ball, winning the penalty. Massive one there. What will be the format of the Nations Championship? I don't know completely yet. But I think it's the case of you play everyone who's on the other side of the draw. You know, like all the Rugby Championship teams, for instance, I believe play the Six Nations sides. And vice versa. And then, yeah, I'm not 100% sure how they're going to do it. I have to read into it. But because it's so far away, I think it's also that I haven't had the chance just yet. It's a bit similar to the Rugby 365. That one's going to go into touch for the Dragons. They have relieved that pressure once more. Maybe this is when we do see those changes being made. I think that the Sharks just took a little bit too long with that rolling maul, not getting rid of it early enough. Had to check my neighbours. Cat thumping on my roof. Says roof there, and the Dragons trying to keep the Sharkies off the line. See there, Burrows making his way onto the field. That is for Coughlin. Just the 17 minutes remaining. No points in the whole of the second half. I did jinx it by saying how high scoring it had been in the first half, I'm sure. My score for next week's Storm is 53. Scarlets with the 31. To me, it's just dumb. It's technically a World Cup because you just play every nation in the top 12 rankings, says Cameron Kay. Yeah, and the question is, will it take away from that World Cup a little bit? Now, that's one thing about cricket that some people get not so much annoyed about, but the fact that because there are different formats, you see a World Cup every couple of years, and it feels like it's not as special as if it was every 4. Now, big run here for Tennis de Beer. Sitting currently around that 25 metres from the line and almost a knock-on, but very well handled by Burrows. Just made his way onto the field. He's probably still got a little bit of that gel on his hands and the chalk. Try and deal with the slipperiness playing out there on the field, but it is another penalty to the Dragons. Now another chance. They get to decide, do they want to go for the 7 or do they want to go for the 3? I think they might consider 7 here with more box with next week. So here's Briston. Oh, okay. Tennis de Beer is calling for the kicking tee here. You are correct. That grandeur of the World Cup will be gone, says Cameron Kay. Definitely with the fact that now the World Cup is involving more sides. So, we'll see more of the big matchups outside of the World Cup than during it. Up until, of course, those kind of final stages. But he is sitting 2 from 2. Who has the ball? Tennis de Beer has the ball. And he is getting ready to line up this kick for the Dragons. This to make the score 17-17 between these two teams. We're still around that just under 17 minutes remaining. It's going to be an interesting one. It could honestly go either way, this matchup. And I do think that the odds makers have done it perfectly when they said that this one was going to be 50-50. I meant what team? The Dragons were lining up the kick, and they have got it over from Tennis de Beer. Now making the score with the 15 minutes remaining. 17 points to 17, and now the Sharks kick it out on the full. That is the same mistake that we saw multiple times from the Dragons throughout the first 40. What do you think of Rassi's team for Saturday? Do you believe this is match 23 for the World Cup final? Says Cameron. I mean, it's an absolutely stacked side, and it's going to be a real handful. Like Argentina already were up against it. Up against the South African side based on what we saw last week and also the time prior that the two sides played. But this side is, it's very strong. And I do think that unless something really crazy happens, honestly, for Argentina, this for me, like Wallabies beating South Africa in South Africa was huge, right? 38 points to 22. But I would almost have to argue that if Argentina somehow pull off the victory here up against the stacked Springbok side, it is bigger, or it is, for me, almost a bigger upset. Which is crazy to say, because, Australia winning by 16 on South African soil should be considered as the highest. But it's Vincent Tshituka penalised there for playing the man in the year. I was watching your Rugby 25 from a while ago. I really hope you make more using the Super Rugby team, says Highlanders fan. Yeah, I don't even know what's happening with that game at the moment. I know that they've been bringing out little updates every once in a while, but I don't even know if it's good anymore. Or if it's good, full stop. I don't think there was a patch where it was actually a good game. But, yeah, maybe one day we'll try and bring it back a little bit. Nicely taken. Oh, no, it's dropped by the Dragons. Knocking it on. And that is going to be frustration now. Imagine the Dragons win. The thing is, though, the odds had them $1.87 each way, so they are actually not huge underdogs in this matchup. They're actually considered as like a side that are supposed to at least be competitive in this matchup, if that makes sense. You see it, Levi Douglas, the big man, just having the handling error there. Sharks being beaten by a South African and Tennis de Beer. Here's Cameron Kay. Sounds like another change. It is Sabashle making his way off, and that is for Kanili. And terrible weather, ball slippery, and it seems to be impacting the sides a little bit more in the second half. And Imagine Dragons, where have I heard that before? Here's Big Rig. And Fine Anuku for a hat-trick today. Here's Highlanders fan. And I don't know who's going to step up for the for the Pumas tomorrow. Injuries to their star players, says Ruth. Yeah, some big changes made. Definitely in that 9-10 combination. Benitez Cruz as the starting 9. And, like not having Gonzalo Garcia, I do actually think he's done pretty well. Throughout this Rugby Championship, a monster. I've turned into a monster, and it keeps getting stronger. Says Big Rick. I think it will be a closer game tomorrow. Max 20-point win, says Haino. Yeah, see, I went 25 points separating them, which may have seemed a little bit harsh on the Pumas, and hopefully I am wrong. Might as well bring back Frisbee golf too. It's a bit damp at the moment for a bit of Frisbee golf. Me and George, we were not... George had the distance over me in the Frisbee golf department. But now ready for this scrum. Currently sitting with 12 minutes left on the clock too. And if you are the Sharks, you just look to close out this game. You get yourself some form of points and just say, yep, we'll take it. Because a win is a win. And in this scenario, a win would almost be considered as, slightly... Well, the thing is, it's likely, but it's unlikely, if that makes sense. They should win this game based off how they've played. But then the Dragons have still been in this contest right from the get-go. And the amount of penalties against them throughout this game, you would think would have taken them out of the running, but they are still somehow in it. Although I think that they're not too far away from getting a yellow card when it comes to that scrum time. As they've given away, I believe the count is about 7 penalties now in their scrums. Another chance here for the Sharks. I miss when you do the Rugby Challenge 4 videos. That was so good. Yeah, see, that's a bit of a throwback. That was a good kind of 2 or so years ago, wasn't it? In fact, it was even longer than 2 years, probably back in 2021-22. Sharks are dominating, but useless in open play. Says Haino. Now the big push coming there from the Sharks. They have been told to use it, so no advantage there. Oh, now they get the penalty at scrum time. Sharks are dominating, and Ted Hill just got dropped on his head like a sack of potatoes. He's off. Says Big Rig. Just repeat infringements at the moment from this Dragon side. If they do not fix it, I think that the Sharks, they will get a 3-point at some point. Oh, that one didn't find touch, though. The ref has done well at scrum time, hasn't he? Says Flesh, and that one's going to be put high. The Dragons chasing after it, beautifully taken by John Smith, just outside of the 22, managing to get the offload away to Kunini. Recently made his way onto the field for Sabali, out on that right wing side. Can also play at fullback, though, Kunini, so maybe we do see Edward van der Merwe actually make that transition. Out onto the wing here. That ball's gone almost backwards off the kick. Jaden Hendrickse decides to sink it downfield, but it's gone out on the full. Another mistake here from the Sharks. They are mentioning about the fact that maybe there's a bit of panic coming now from the Sharks team. No yellow, no red. Yeah, I think the one that's more likely to get the yellow at the moment is the kit, or the team that is wearing the yellow. That would be the Dragons. Looks like a couple more changes being made. So the big man, Lamini, making his way on. And also, who else? Martin Zema's off. Blula's off. That one's not straight from the Dragons. Kicked forward, but Calder's not straight, which means now another scrum in favour of the Sharks. I'll kick in a shock, and it says Ruth. Now just the 9 minutes remaining. I did really jinx it when I said this was a high game or a high scoring contest. Absolute nonsense here from the Sharks. Says Haino. Just looking around at the moment, I don't see Nick Hatton out there on the field as of yet. While the side and Bath have been dancing around. Sales half for a combined 55 phases and just can't score anything. Oh, now it's a draw. Increasing the wind speed, says Haino. I think that was just a little bit of rushing coming from Jaden Hendrickse, but yeah, it does look pretty breezy out there on the field at the moment. Right, substitution now being made. Who is it going off? Looks like no one at the moment for either of these teams. Oh no, in fact, here comes Edwan Swart making his way on. That is for Fezambata. Makes his way from the field. 8.5 minutes remaining. That is not a lot of time, ladies and gentlemen. And neither of these sides have really fully grabbed the second half by the scruff of the neck. Your boss, as a massive rugby fan, when of the boardrooms, one of the boardrooms, has the 2011 All Blacks World Cup top signed by all players amongst other signed shirts across the room. Says Inferno. Yeah, you normally see those type of ones in like the sports bars, don't you? In terms of the signed memorabilia. But I think that last World Cup, didn't they have those trophies that you could buy as well? I know that way back in the day, I think it was actually around 2011, they had like a thing how if you signed up for a bank, you got a World Cup trophy piggy bank. So I ended up getting one of those. And since then, I've hardly used that account. But it's still there. I think it's been sitting there for about 10 years untouched. But I have a World Cup trophy. Sadly, one of the pieces that held it on the side, one of the handles as they're called, did snap. Another penalty at scrum time, and now it's going to be a yellow card here for them. And like they've said, how are the Dragons now going to find a way back into this game with a man disadvantage? Also got the 2007 Lions top signed. So here's Inferno there. That is a big hit for this Dragon side. Chris Coleman, he only felt like recently made as well on the field, but he's actually been on for quite some time, I believe. And now Nick Haddon, he makes his way on. That is going to be for either Pepsi Buthelezi or Tshituka, in fact, is the man that he does make his way onto the field for. One of these two sides need a try. Whoever scores from here, I believe, will win this game. Even if it is a three-pointer, it may be enough to get the job done. Now, line-out throw. Nicely taken by Marvin Orie. I'm going to bed after this. I will be up for a couple more hours. I've still got a bit of editing, or not so much editing, but setting up of streams and everything to get done, getting some overlays, and get some food as well. But then, yeah, I will be sleeping before that next match taking place between New Zealand and Australia. So that's one big bonus. It will be an all-nighter, but it will also feel like it's during the day for me, if that makes sense. If I am able to get enough sleep. That is, of course, the fingers crossed side of things. Now told to use it here for Jaden Hendrickse. And we'll put this one up high again. Chasing after it, going sideways. Edward van der Merwe waits for that one. Lets Finney Anisi knock it on. You wearing a Springbok shirt tomorrow? I am not, no. Won't be able to watch you. I'll only be back at 1 a.m. Says Maher then, but the knock on from Finney Anisi. And you know what that means? And in fact, that's probably worse than just letting that ball bounce back into the hands of the Sharks, because that now means they have to go with the scrum. Sale Sharks are not happy. Wilgriff John just did a head-on-head tackle. Ref says no card. There was mitigation. Says Big Rig. Sharks are on a downhill. Honestly, annoying watching them recently. They have no discipline. Worse than schoolboy rugby. Honestly, feel like our Greys college boys can do better. Says I Romeo. And it seems to be they give away penalties at just the wrong times. You see there, Rob Hunt. He's going to be added back out onto the field. And the scrum could get ugly once again. We could see a second yellow card for the Dragons if they're not careful. And Stormers are doing well now. Yeah, they've won themselves 2 games in a row, so it's actually going to be the man who knocked on the ball, Finney Anisi. Does make his way from the turf. And we need the cramp week to win. Says Inferno. And yeah, at the moment, 6 minutes left. I'm still of the belief that 3 points for either side here would probably be enough without jinxing it. And Stormers came back nicely. Sharks struggling. Says Ruth. It feels like an eternity ago that we saw the try from O'Brien. And also it feels even longer since we've seen that try from Vincent Tshituka. Now Hendrickse, again it goes down in the front row. Another penalty going against the Dragons. They are not going to get anything in the scrums today. In fact, the only thing they're getting is yellow cards. What time is the Springboks game tomorrow? Will be 11:45 for you guys in South Africa. That is, that game, South Africa are playing at 3 p.m. South African time. Sorry, difficult conditions out there. Absolutely. These two sides I mentioned about it, they almost made it look easy throughout the first half to be able to deal with these type of conditions. In second half, it's kind of looked like the first half was expected to. The first half, I've never seen so many bodies flying off each other. Super slippery, says Inferno. And Stormers are on fire without Sasha Feinberg, Ungame Zulu. And imagine when those Bok guys come back. Yeah, and Valimza slotting back in there. Kobus Reinach too. And add a lot to that back line. Trying to get the steal there at the line-out time was the Dragons. What games are you doing tomorrow? We are doing the 2 Rugby Championship ones and the Bulls versus Leinster with the other match that we do cover on the channel. Hendricks does rip it away from his number maybe 8, I think it was, with Vincent Tshituka having his hands on the ball. But that is going to be a penalty now the way of the Sharks. The last couple times they have kicked for the corner, they have made mistakes. Get the points, Sharks. Yeah, it's not an easy kick. And they're kicking for the corner here, the Sharks. So they have turned down the 3. Remember that if this goes wrong, that one not having a huge amount of height on it for the kick from John Smith. So Aaron Wainwright offside at the Maul time. How much longer until the game ends? Only 3.5 minutes remaining, and it is still 17-17. It is anyone's game for the taking. And the line out now for Edouard Sport. They are sitting 10 metres out from the try line. It's well set. The Dragons, they can't afford to drag this one down. But it's not moving here. Told to use it once for the Sharks. Last time they waited too long to break off. That is well done from Edouard Swart. Making the right decision there. Now getting close to the try line. Oh, where's the ball? Oh, penalty there. Tackle off the ball. Coming from, I think that's Lorenzo Julius. Trying to do the work of the forwards. And it backfires. Dragons get themselves another penalty. And get the point. Sharks says, hey, no, they should have taken the 3. I can tell you that right now. I think that was maybe the case of trying to make the most of a man advantage. But in that case, you haven't scored any points throughout the second half. That is when you take the 3, even though I would have loved to see them try that rolling ball, of course. But it does backfire here. Just Lorenzo Julius taking the man past the ball and gives away the penalty. Right, the water has been called off of the field by the referee. Like they've just said no need to do that for Lorenzo Julius. And what is the Sharks' downfall? Says Jamie Knox. I think it's just that the Dragons, they've been pretty decent throughout this game. Other than the scrums, that is where they've been absolutely brutalised throughout this game. But the Sharks, for the conditions, I don't think played a bad first half. But they certainly haven't played a good second. They should have taken the kick, absolutely. When the points are available in this scenario, in this type of close game, you do have to take them. Definitely when there's only 4 minutes left. What nationality is Julius? He is South African, Lorenzo Julius. Now rolling maul of the Dragons here. They are playing with 14 men on the field, and they will feel pretty good about somehow finishing out this game with a victory if they can just get themselves a penalty. Dennis Tapia at the moment is sitting 3 from 3 off of the kicking tee. Isn't he Namibian? Is he? If he is, I know that they are talking about him playing for South Africa, and he's an under-20 representative for the South Africans, but he may have some sort of Namibian blood in there too. Now back across to the left-hand side. Chance here in the middle of the field for Levi Douglas. Now quick hands to Bear. Oh, well to take that is. Manages to save it from being a knock-on. Well, Griff did just a second head-on-head tackle. He's just head-butting lads at this point. Says Big Rig. He's born in Namibia. Says Aino now passed on the outside to Rio Dyer. Big bump off there, getting rid of, I think it would have been Kunini there. With a big collision in these conditions, you have to take the 3 points kick for the post. And now currently the Dragons with 1 minute left on the clock. They're trying to ask for the penalty advantage, but they do not get it as of yet. Backline movement here for De Beer. They sit 30 metres out from the try line. The Dragons, they have only won 1 game in their last about 20 matches. Can this be another one up against the South Africans? Now Wainwright, another carry for him. He managed to score the first try. It was where it all started. Short ball goes to Burrows. Looks for the risky offload. Slap back. Oh, that's accidental offside. Although it's just going to be called as the knock-on. And a scrum feed now for the Dragons. Only 8% voted for the draw. Says Big Rig and oh boy, who's the referee for the Springboks. That is Andrea Piardi. But that is a knock-on from Jaden Hendricks. Then there was accidental offside afterwards. I lost my bet, says Tyrone. Currently the 7 seconds remaining on the clock now. The referee. Wow. TMO might be getting involved here, and if this is ruled as a deliberate knockdown, this will be an easy 3-pointer for the Dragons that would win them this game. Okay, no time to react. It's just going to be the scrum feed for the Dragons. Dragons played really well. Yeah, this is nasty, says the What's Up Guys podcast. Got yellow carded, and then game ended seconds later. Says Big Rig. And Dragons says Stormzy. Bath win 28 points to 16 over Sale Sharks. So yeah, they're saying there Jaden Hendricks had no time to be able to react, to be able to pull out of having his hand in the way. And they're saying there on the commentary that they feel it was a 50-50 type of call. But now ready to feed it in again here for the Dragons. They are sitting currently around that 25 metres out from the Sharks line. They have hardly won a penalty throughout this whole game when it comes to scrum. What injury does Tupavai have? It's a knee injury. So he actually hurt it last game, but they decided that he'd be all right. They tested him out a little bit and hurt it at Thursday's training too. Because I'm a Stormer. As a scrum for the Sharks needed, and they will be looking for that really big push from the get-go here. And I think that at the moment, the Dragons will know that. And I don't see them winning a penalty at scrum time. Who's replacing him? It is Fabian Holland in the number 5 jersey. So actually a duo that some wanted to see from the get-go. Sky Sport in New Zealand says Highlanders fan. As in like where to watch these games or for the other ones. Who did Andre Pollard play for? He is playing for the Bulls this season. But this game on URC TV, Highlanders fan. Due to TVNZ losing the licensing for the competition. Okay, cool. Holland isn't bad at all. Yeah, he's the number 1 when it comes to lineouts 1 throughout the competition. So a big player to have for the Kiwis. Now ready to feed this ball in now. Rodri Williams. Put it in. Wainwright off the back. They know that they need one more try or some points of some sort. I don't see them setting up for a drop kick as of yet, but getting a bit closer. Levi Douglas pick and go for Rodri Williams. The question is for the Sharks here, would they take a draw if they were able to get the steal? It would be the big decision that needs to be made, and I think at the moment they would certainly take it. With where they sit on the field, it's going to be extremely tough to work their way out of here for the Dragons. 10 metres out from the try line. Now another chance. 10 metres still from being able to win this game, their first of the season. It was the first round of last year that they managed to win their last game, the Dragons. They're looking to do it again with the pick and goes. They're hoping for that penalty advantage. Yes, take the draw and leave. Dragons going for the try. It sounds like they're going to do a drop kick. I don't know if they would in these type of conditions. There's a chance that you could slip in this scenario. You're better off just working it away and try and earn that penalty advantage. And that may be just what the Dragons are doing, slowly getting towards the line. Before they were 10 metres out, 5 phases later, they're probably 9. And now Rodri Williams just calling the shots, getting it into the hands of the big man Levi Douglas again. The Sharks staying disciplined, can't afford to give away the penalty advantage. Rodri Williams working it towards the wide channel. And out to the right-hand side, still the 10 metres out. Looks now like Wainwright is going to go for the pick and go off the back. It's a couple extra metres, 7 metres out. Hendricks are diving and thought about getting the steal, but doesn't quite manage to get it. And how many Sharks, how many do the Sharks have to be awarded so many dominating the scrums yet cannot turn it into points? Says Darryl, it will be something that they look at in this game, definitely if they do lose it. Also, if they do draw it, though, that maybe they look at with that little bit of regret. Now back across to the left-hand side here again, the Dragons. I don't know how many phases they are up to, but it's got to be 15 at least. Now Aaron Wainwright, Marvin Orie, he manages to roll away just so that he doesn't get the penalty against him. 5 metres out from the try line, still here for the Dragons. They are just not letting up, but great defence at the moment from the Sharks. It looks like the Dragons aren't willing to shift this one out wide as it could lead to an error or could lead to the Sharks managing to get a bit of isolation. Aaron Wainwright tackled again. 3-man tackle on him by Tshituka, as well as Damini. And a wide cutout pass this time bounces into the hands of the winger. O'Brien drops his head. He is 1 metre short of the try line again. Now pick and go here for the Dragons. They've knocked the ball on. And that will be the end of the game. It ends as a draw between these two sides. They have butchered that one, the Dragons, after 20 phases. And the game comes to a close. Both of these sides sharing the points here. But the draw, the first of the URC for this year, potentially not the last. Well, the Sharkies are so lucky. Says Haino, they will be very thankful that they were able to hold off with some brilliant defense right at the end of this game to be able to stop the Dragons from going through. But it was just that last pick and go. The player of the match is Rodri Williams for the Dragons too. Sharks only have themselves to blame here. They turned down a 3-pointer in the 77th minute, which could have secured them the victory here. But, do you take this one as a bonus because it's away points? Maybe, but it's still definitely not what they would have been wanting from this game. But honestly, the betting odds were exactly right for this game. They called it $1.87 each way. They couldn't split the teams, and that is exactly what happened in this contest as well. 17-17, just the 3 points throughout the second half of rugby. Nonetheless, we are now at the end of this matchup. But I do thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We have got the next game being Australia versus New Zealand for the Rugby Championship final round. Alongside that, we have also got the South Africa-Argentina game. And then after that one, there is Leinster versus the Bulls. The handling errors were far too high. They were in wet conditions, but also just not being able to turn penalties into points, I think, is the big thing that the Sharks will look at from this game. Be a bit disappointed about. Aaron Wainwright, great performance from him in the number 8 jersey, as well as, just Rodri Williams making great choices in terms of where to go. It was almost enough to get them the win in the end, but the draw is how it does end up standing. But thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all for the next one.